And now we review the newspaper front pages. We have our guest analyst here with us, Sesan Okunade. Good morning. Good to have you.
Yeah, good morning.
I was thinking you'd be at the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week. I'm surprised. I mean, you're a global leader. Why are you?
Yeah, I flew in this morning so that I can be part of this program. So after the program,
you go back.
That's
Thank
the way
you
we
so much.
operate. You know, I must give respect to this program.
Thank you.
And as a global person, you go, come back. Doesn't matter. You just make yourself available.
I totally understand. I was asking if you've recovered from losing your speaker on Monday.
Yes, I'm so sorry, Obasa. Yeah, your speaker was impeached.
Okay, legal speaker.
Your speaker.
Former speaker.
Yes, yes.
A former speaker. And see, politics is not. When you see a politician, they will tell you no permanent friend. No
permanent interest.
In fact, that day in the morning, a lot of the campaign, Trust Africa, Nigerian politician, your loyalty cease. Immediately they pull you out of the office. And it will interest you to see that the same set of honorables that wore black bow during the budget presentation to support him, every one of them together said enough of this and this type of stuff. But the truth of it is that history has been made. We now have the first female speaker for the state after 7 consecutive. So I think give that to
what would it? I can't imagine what it would feel like, to return to the house, because he's still a member of the house.
Of course,
he represents Gagege. So what would it feel like to return, back in the midst of 20? Exactly.
Leave all those things. Politicians don't know the motion. The fact remains that he's no longer speaker, but he's still a member of the House of State House of Assembly. And possibly they will give him one chairman. Haven't you see, what you are talking about is his own is not developed.
What of governors that retire in the House? They've made the House their permanent retirement plan.
Yeah, even saying, maybe we have the likes of the big guys at the National Assembly, where they will leave as either the Senate president and come back to be on the floor.
Yeah. But not impeached. It's different when you are impeached, and then you have to sit amongst the people who impeached you last week.
You are talking because you are not involved in politics.
Well,
those things that you are still in the game.
Politicians.
Those things. I don't want to use that language.
Politicians are ashamed. Let's go to the paper.
That's what they talk. They are not concerned.
So long as their pocket is being oiled. Let's see the front page of the Punch newspaper. On the front page of the Punch newspaper, Southwest governors team up against ISWAP elements bandits. Governors working on intelligence report as Southwest monarchs demand proactive step. Yuletide, CBN finds 9 banks 1.35 billion naira for ATM cash scarcity. You don't mean it. So they had money all the while. Nigeria earned 50 trillion naira from crude oil in 2024, according to report. Court hears suits challenging Lagos-Calabar highway contract. Ogun lovers wanted for allegedly killing Chinese. Ooni's ex-queen, others regain freedom after 21-day remand. Opposition demands impeached speaker's probe as GAC meets Lagos Assembly leaders. We took that earlier in the news, and we saw her saying that she had to meet with the Governor's Advisory Council to get their blessing. And, she has gotten their blessing to step in. And final story, FBN says our dispute with General Hydrocarbons is over transparency, and the beef goes on. Let's move on to the Vanguard.
All right, not very many major stories on the Vanguard, but the big one on your screen says underfunding, huge debts, the root cause of power sector failure. As supply falls below 4,000 megawatts, creates more hurdles for households and businesses. Top of the screen, CBN finds 9 banks for failing to dispense cash at ATMs. AI, decentralized electricity supply, Okunjewela, says Nigeria can't be left behind. GAC meets and endorses new Lagos Speaker Miranda. We're going to talk about that definitely. Marketers shift to Dangote refinery as petrol depot price hits 950 naira per litre. And in sports, Pinnick missing 2026 World Cup would be disaster for Nigeria. Those are the stories on the Vanguard. Do we have time to squeeze in another one?
Yes. Let's take our next paper this morning. We have the Nigerian Tribune. On the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, National Assembly demands detailed report on Ministry of Livestock Development. Senators, reps frown on 11.8 billion naira budget for 2025. Minister told not to restrict projects to cattle alone. White paper on ministry still not out. CBN sanctions 9 banks for failing to dispense cash via ATMs. NERC transfers full electricity regulatory oversight to 4 states. PDP NWC to convene amidst controversy over National Secretary position. Ude Okoye expected to attend. We have JAMB Registrar debunks report on spending 850 million naira on fumigation. Wahala. Says amount spent on fumigation in 2024 less than 1 million naira. First Bank says no abuse of court process in dispute with General Hydrocarbons Limited. I think we can actually still take the last paper, the Daily Trust. And on the front page of the Daily Trust,
Cash crunch. CBN fines 9 banks 1.35 billion naira. Warn Gaza, Israel to OK ceasefire deal. Ex-Sokoto Governor Bafarawa dumps PDP. Neglecting the ex-soldiers dangerous for fight against insecurity, says Irabo. Vulcanizer sets lover ablaze during arguments in Abuja. Boko Haram burns church houses in Borno. Also, we can't fight banditry with 20 armored personnel carriers, says Minister. And also, student leaders to get rice as Tinubu extends palliative to SUGs. Those are the big stories on the Daily Trust. I think we should start with Lagos State, in continuation of where we already kicked off. The governorship, Governor's Advisory Council, I think it's one of the stories on the Vanguard this morning, meets with the Lagos Speaker, Miranda. For those who are not sure exactly what the Governor's Advisory Council is and what it does, what its relevance is really, do you have a clear idea?
Yeah, well, from the little knowledge I know about them, they are like the people who call the leaders of the party that bring cohesion. They are there as the leader to make sure that things go the right perspective. If you have all these promises that we have offered to the citizen, how are we monitoring and following them to letters so that the people can benefit? If there are disputes, amongst the tiers of government, the executive, the legislators, and the judiciary, they come in and see how they can politically solve the problem without getting to the level at which the people will now suffer. That's what I understand for their role. They are the leaders of the party in the state, that the governor, the speaker, the head of judiciary listen to when critical in advisory capacity does not mean that they control. They can see certain things and say, we feel this is the way to go. A lot of them are experienced politicians, and they feel that they can give the right perspective to anyone that will actually be there. You don't need to, I'm sure our governor was really not a politician. This guy has been there for long ages, and you see people coming in as governor, they say they are young. And you just say that people who have the experience will be able to tailor certain things to them. I think that's their role, and I think they've been playing it to the best of my ability, effectively. To the best of their ability.
They're not appointed, by the state. The people of Lagos State don't necessarily.
I think it's just for the APC.
No, it's for the APC. It's for the APC alone.
Okay.
Yeah, it's party setting, not for the state. It's party setting that these are leaders. And for me,
all that statement.
Okay, you get the right word for that, They are just there to tell you. I can tell you, in my profession, I remember when I was chairman of a district in Iken. Well, I have such people, we call them the body of past chairmen. They've passed through the place, they have the experience, and they are there in advisory capacity to tell you, okay, they come in, you share your plans with them, and they monitor intermittently. I know then every quarter there's a meeting with that particular body to say, okay, these are things that you've actually promised. These are things we've said we'll do. How far have we gone? What are your plans? And you share it with them. If there are inputs they feel they need to give to you, they will offer. So I feel it's something that is of necessary, if you ask me, for us to go. Otherwise, it's just people derailing.
Yeah, I mean, so as necessary as it might be, I think, there's also the parts where it might also be dangerous, to have, a group to be so influential in the politics of a state or a country, and it's not just particular to Lagos, anywhere that this is happening. Do you also see the negative aspects of it, the influence that, such a group can have on the state, and maybe then be able to determine the trajectory of the state beyond what is really necessary for the citizens of that state or residents of that state.
Yeah, I understand the aspect you say, and that's why I feel most of the time they are very careful in selecting the people that will make up that committee like GAC, the Government Advisory Committee, to be people who you can consider as selfless, who have the passion of the people. You see, a lot of things can accrue to you based on the fact that you are in a particular committee or in a particular position as a leader. It doesn't mean that everyone in that committee is 60 years and above or older than Mr. Governor. But you might have some young people daring to contribute their own. The negative aspect, you see, in everything in life, there is always positive and negative. Once the positivity outweighs the negativity, everybody assumes that that's the best way to go. It's not that they don't have their own negative side to things that happen, but once they consider that their contribution in the positive aspect is much more. I can tell you from what I read, the exit of the former speaker, it was GAC that actually engaged the national leader to say these are things we have observed about the speaker as regard his relationship with the governor of the state. I read that at the last presentation, it took over 4 hours, for the speaker to come in, and it has been a continuous thing for him to come late to programs where the governor will be. I'm sure that even at our own capacity, you cannot invite them and they will be waiting for you. So irrespective of whether you have stayed so long at a particular place and you are considering that this particular person is younger, he doesn't have the experience, you must respect the office. You are not respecting individual, but respecting the office of the person that we're talking about. And I think that's part of the challenges that he has faced with. Even when you see some of the, I saw some of his colleagues, speaking and saying that there is this atmosphere where you just shut people down. And that's what you get. Somebody being in the house for over 16 years. What do you expect? When you even want to say, what do you know, boy? You're young in this thing, you're a baby. Let the elder speak. And even when you have constructive and objective view, because of his experience, he shut you down. And a lot of them complain that it has not actually been of great benefit, even to the state. It's not assisting them in their consistency, in their deliverables. And that's why they all keep going. For 29 or 30 of them to have come together to say, you must leave, is more than two-thirds.
Okay,
which is
I want us to move on from this story so we can maybe touch on other stories. But as quickly as you can, the opposition has demanded that the speaker be probed. If you remember, Ikufo Adeyemi had been probed as well, but he said that he had been wrongfully, that he had been wrongfully, I can't remember the exact word, but
accused,
yes, and that EFCC had, been on his tail for 12 years, and that, all of that was wrongfully done. Do you see him being probed, or is the best? I mean, I took one tweet yesterday that said that if impeachment is all Obasa gets, that he should be grateful. But do you think that that all the allegations against him, that the opposition would now ensure, and the current party would ensure that he's thoroughly probed?
Yeah, well, it depends. I will always say this, and I know the way our politics rove in the country. It depends on the side where he belongs to, as we speak. He's been impeached. If they decide to forgive him his sin, he may not visit the EFCC and just say, let him learn his lessons there. But if he has stepped on big toes that wants to deal with him, the way politics go, I can tell you that his immunity has been stripped off him. Now they will go after him and get certain revelation. Now, see, the way we play politics here is that once you fall wrong of the people that matters in determining certain things, a lot of expose will come out about you on certain things that they consider. Because I will always tell you this, when I saw this woman, when they accused him of having wrong, NYSC certificate, Kemi Adeosun, I asked, who actually did that? Kemi, that I know, a woman of substance and integrity, that have done so much out there, will not want to go there. But do you know the way this thing always go? It is the same politician that will tell you that this can be done. we can do it. We'll keep the secret. When you are playing to their dictate, that thing will remain secret. As soon as you fall apart on the tail, they will start unveiling those things, not from them, but unveiling it to the people that are concerned. So if Obasa is in that particular line, you definitely see certain things that are hidden being unraveled. And if it has to go to CEFCC, they will definitely welcome him there.
Okay. Let's move on from that. On his ex-queen orders regain freedom after 21-day demand. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, I think they will have a sign of relief. They've granted them bail, I think to the tune of 10 million and some property. At least with that, and I'm sure they will be coming to the court to make a certain revelation on things that are. You see, when they say the issue of court, it's just an atmosphere for you to go and explain your own part of the story, because we're talking about lives here. Remanding them, you're fine. I know the law says that you can't remand more than whether 48 hours before you are actually put to the court, but they have stayed there 21 days. Now that they are out, they can definitely take care of, because that's even trauma on its own. Even though people will say that even the family of the people that lost their loved ones are also being traumatized. But I think they can have the freedom now and do one or two things to actually explain what happened at that particular area.
Yeah. All right, it is Armed Forces Remembrance Day today. On the Daily Trust, it says that Boko Haram burns church and houses in Borno. Minister is also in the news saying we can't fight banditry with 20 armored personnel carriers. So your quick thoughts on, on those two stories as we, of course, continue the fight against insurgency in Nigeria.
Well, I want to say condolences to all the heroes that has passed in the military. They sacrificed their life to make things happen. We will continue to remember them for the good. And it's on this note, we always remind the government that when people serve, make sure that their loved ones that they are left behind are given the necessary attention. You don't just push people to war and feel that that is the maximum that they can get. Their family lives in impoverishment without being attended to. On the second aspect, I ask myself the question, when we are saying that we cannot use 20 armored vehicles to fight insurgency, how far have we gone with the resources that we have to see that this is the extent this can go? I'm only speaking from the perspective of a management person. You don't expect so much is being allocated to defense, and I'm sure it's not only armor thing that will take preeminence. We have to Kano, we have all those things that the last administration invested huge amount in. How much have we actually utilized this to say that we are actually winning the war or we are overwhelmed? These are areas that we need to look to. You see, we must have analysis before we come to just make some of those, because this idea, some people have come to say it's not a war that we have to take up with ammunitions. It's about addressing the psyche of some of the people that have actually been indoctrinated into this act, and see how you can pull them out to know that what they are doing is wrong, as against fighting. We've been hearing of killing and killing every day. How many of those other parties have we been able to say that we've been able to kill, or those that are actually brought to that were found culpable? And we all say, what we say is forgiveness. You reintegrate them back into the system, and you expect those things to work. Is a challenge. I'd like
you to speak to that, because a few days ago, I see the guest we had on, we're talking about reintegrated good. I think it was terrorists in Kaduna, or so I'm not quite sure which of Kaduna, had said that they had asked for forgiveness and saying that they want their kids to benefit from education, and they wanted to be reintegrated into the society. What's your take on terrorists being reintegrated back into the society?
For me, I've always take this, and a lot of people will say that is really too hard. Forgiveness is of the Lord, not human. Forgiveness is of the Lord. You have killed by the sword, you go by the sword. I have been an advocate to say capital punishment should be done. Most of the time people will say, no, it's really not at the operation or the forefront. It's just an informant. Are you aware that giving information is powerful than carrying that particular sophisticated weapon? Because when you don't know the target, then definitely you won't achieve your aim. But when somebody is able to tell you that this is the direction at which to go, he has empowered you to achieve your aim. So when I see some of these things coming to say, let's reintegrate them back, let's forgive them. In fact, there was a period when I heard that they were actually being empowered, given generating sets, barbing vehicles and the like. And I say, the people that they have actually displaced are still in IDP. And you're actually celebrating this set of people saying you are bringing them back. Why won't we see increase in the number? I've said that if you do capital punishment, okay, how many of you have actually owned up that you've been part of this deal in the last 6 months? It's confirmed you are. Let's just finish them, remove them, and reduce the number. So when you are going into the business, you have an idea to say, if I'm caught, death is what I'll face. Even when I don't have that death on the operation ground. When I even say I've owned up and I've finished everything, they are still going to kill me. Then you have a second thought. But this idea of reintegrating them back into the system because we are in the... Do you know the number of military people that die on daily basis, sacrificing their life, and you feel that these people will come? They will come back. I always tell people, some people will tell you that in the morning they give their life to Christ. In the evening they will go back. Because what they are enjoying in that particular business cannot be compared. If you give them safe landing now and you give them some empowerment, if they are not enjoying the largesse they have at the other side, be rest assured, the skill is there, the knowledge is there, they have everything up there. They will go back and reinforce in a more powerful way. And that's why I've never been an advocate to say, let's integrate these people. I always tell you, forgiveness is of the Lord, not human. And we can move on that.
It's also important to mention, that as much as, they advocate, I mean, you're an advocate for capital punishment for terrorism, but they still need to go through the justice system, and so it's pretty difficult, because they still need to be found guilty.
Most of the time when they are even found guilty, they plead. It's just like somebody's stolen our money. A lot of them, they've stolen our money and they will come with plea bargaining. And then why are you doing plea bargaining? Why are we not punishing this act? Somebody has picked up 10 billion. And you say we'll plea bargain and give you 2 billion. So what happened to the remaining 8 billion?
I'm just pointing out, that.
When they go to the court, let them go to that process. Once you are found culpable, then let's just reduce the number, and we'll go that particular route.
I also do not know that the Nigerian government, readily has the resources, to engineer that process, that long, and of course you also know the way that our criminal justice system is. There's also those who would say, well, they may have assisted with, terrorism, but they didn't necessarily kill anybody. So, we should have a different
and that's why I always come from that perspective to say those informants are more powerful than those that are carrying the ammunition, because they give you the precise information on how to eat.
Yeah,
so when you don't have that information, it's difficult for you. It's just like you facing this direction as if you want to eat the gun. And the person is behind you.
Strategy, the ones carrying the gun, everybody is involved.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a much wider conversation that needs to be properly broken down.
From different angles.
Yeah, from different angles. Because yes, capital punishment. If you have killed and raided villages and communities, and your victims have lost family members that are currently living in IDP camps. Yeah, I mean everybody would agree with that, but there's little details here and there. Nigerian government also needs to own up, to where it has also failed. To provide for these people who have then had no other reason than to go join, terror groups.
I will not support you on that, Osag.
I'm not saying that is an excuse. I'm just laying out the different angles that must also be,
some of those things
be spoken about.
That your lack of funds does not should not encourage.
Oh yeah, it's no excuse. It's no excuse. Doesn't exonerate anybody. So I'm just pointing out the different angles.
That's why I said it's my own view, and somebody will say, Sesan, we will not even make you a president because this is your capital punishment. Because I feel when you reduce the number, it sanitizes the system. You can imagine if a lot of the people that have been misappropriating our funds are actually being dealt with. So when you take the position of authority to lead, and you know that you are managing people's funds, you'll be very careful. I've asked up till today, Olive Osag, where is our former Minister for Humanitarian Affairs? Where are we on the case? Where are we?
I don't know.
So another person will come in and such thing will happen and nothing will happen. So why do we just raise up sensational news for people to read? But we don't. We have good starting, but the finishing is really very, very poor.
Yeah. All right, on the Punch newspapers this morning, Southwest governors team up against ISWAP elements and bandits. Governors working on intelligence reports at Southwest Monarchs demand proactive step. We did, speak a little bit about this last week, and I was asking that if the Nigerian government, if this is true, if these threats are true and they're real, if the Nigerian government has battled, ISWAP and Boko Haram and bandits and kidnappers, in northern Nigeria and the whole of Borno and Zamfara and all those places for 15 years, what is Amotekun going to possibly achieve if they are the only option that the Southwest governors have to protect the Southwest? The military is spread thin in different parts of Nigeria. Can they now extend to the Southwest to also protect those regions? It's scary. Very, very scary.
Very, very scary.
I started the show this morning by asking, we've heard about terrorism and insurgency for the last 15 years, since 2009. We have all agreed that Nigeria has very porous borders where arms and ammunition, very likely flow in. Has any Nigerian government since 2009 said to themselves that we have a target, and the target is that we must seal up Nigeria's porous borders? Has anyone, just one of them, said that this is going to be something that we need to have a proper analysis of where we are with our borders? How many years will it take for us to completely ensure that Nigeria's borders are closed and are sealed, and you cannot just move those arms because those arms are produced, in Borno State, they're brought in.
Yeah.
So has there been any proper conversation on anything? Like, we haven't. We, have continued, and I always would give kudos to, Nigerian army.
Yeah.
They have done exceptionally well. They have been extremely brave, in fighting this fight. But there are other aspects of this fight that we seem to just be ignoring, and one of them is the border. Yeah. What critical steps have we taken in 15 years?
Yeah, I will tell you that the government, I would say, is responsible for some of the pressures from what you have said. A lot of issues are identified. But when it comes, and you have a lot of committees set up to look into those issues, paperwork, white paper are submitted and some of those things. When it comes to implementation, it becomes a different ball game on this thing that we're talking about. And I think that's why we've had repeatedly this issue of insecurity going up and down. Amotekun may not do a lot, but maybe on a very lighter note. This is Southwest. And our fathers will tell us there's this thing we call disappearing power to resurface somewhere. We call it Igbe. So when you make use of some of those things, you can see beyond those areas where you are. Whether it works or not, I don't know, but I know we grew up with some of those mentalities. But the truth is, we can put, what we have been advocating for is that, can we decentralize this issue of policing, where the locals can be empowered in such a way to protect their area? The first thing we must address is, can we know ourselves in our environment? And it must start from the grassroots. A lot of these people that are eating at have a place where they reside. They stay here and go out to go and eat there. But people can ask questions in your locality. I'm sure the estate majority of us are living. There is no how we don't know one another, and certain things that we are actually getting involved with. And that's why we said, can we just fill down this level of security and just decentralize it from the central? Empower the local vigilante, the local government, the state governor, in such a way that everybody can protect their area. When you have an external person coming on board, the first thing is always information. Yeah. When they want to attack, they need to have information that this person is having this particular thing. Even when they want to rob, even when they want to do it, there must be information. If you're able to tame that information sharing, and they know that there is an apparatus around to curb whatever they want to do. Why is it that it's a bit difficult to access some estates? Because they know that this area is well, and most of the time, those estate people, do they make use of ammunitions? It's not all of them. Yeah. It's not all of them, but they try as much as possible to ask questions, make certain things as rules to govern their area, and we feel that, at least for certain level, we are actually protected against external aggressions that will come into our estates. And that's why we say, reduce and filter those things down the drain to the local, empower the Obas and let them know, the traditional leaders. If your area is not well secured, it becomes a problem to you, and you can always look for a way that you will not grow economically.
Security experts, have, a lot of views on these things, but, we're out of time. Thank you very much, Mr. Okunade, for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me this morning.
Yeah.